Hi, everybody. I have a special guest today, Kathy InDieZoNe, and we're going to talk about the documents, the new ones. Yeah, so welcome, Kathy. It's so good to have you here.
Hi, Audrey. It's always great to talk to you. I mean, we've been having conversations for a very long time about this case, off and on, and it's great to finally, as we were saying backstage, to be able to say, wow, the public is finally getting to see some of the evidence that's been hidden for so long. So, yeah, glad to talk to you this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so long since we've talked about this case that we've really been able to follow it, and we're up to date on the documents. And I know that you were just saying that there are some, especially some of these news media outlets, where they just kind of move in and out of the case. They don't really look into it the way that we have, and these documents are really getting interesting now.
Well, they really are, and it's only if you have been fought, like we were saying before we went live, that there's a lot of people that are just now learning about. Maybe they saw something on mainstream media, when the case first broke, and maybe when the indictment came down, and when change of venue, when the big things happen. But I think to really understand how precious this information is, you had to have either, number one, been following the case from the beginning or read the documents from the beginning, and then you start to understand just how much was withheld from the public. And it's great to see some of the things, like we were saying, I think it's just about the past month or so, 4 to 5 weeks maximum, that things have been released. And there's been, I mean, suspect vehicle one, there's a couple of images that match up with the affidavit of probable cause, so called, and then we're getting the text messages that we heard about, and then, and then the transcript from the 911 call, and then there's unconfirmed, can't confirm this, but there's rumors going around that the actual call itself may be released. So, and then, the transcript from the closed hearing, and all of these in limine motions. It's just fascinating to see how things were starting to
Now,
play
you
out.
you said something backstage where that some of these motions in limine might have a hearing attached. I didn't even think of that. That is amazing that that could happen.
Oh, it is. No, no.
That is,
It's part of Judge Hippler's pretrial and trial order from October 9th, 2024. And I always tell my listeners, listen, if you're just now, if you're getting back into the case, or you haven't read, because it's that docket is a nightmare. You can't, there, you got part of it up there. You can't search it. Some of the titles don't really explain what the document is, but his pretrial and trial order that he signed not long after change of venue happened. And change of venue, as we all know, was a battle that went for about 9 months. That happened late to Ada County in September. And then it was a few weeks after that that Judge Hippler signed the pretrial and trial order that's dictating all of the things that we've seen. The notices to strike the DP, that was one of the first things that he dealt with. That's in the pretrial and trial order. The dates when the expert witness disclosures were supposed to be exchanged, the in limine motions, the suppression motions, and then there's a few more things that are coming up. That really is the blueprint of the case. But the in limine motions, which are the motions that we're seeing right now, we're in the middle of the briefings schedule right now, comes from an order that modified the trial order. This is the first time Judge Hippler has done this, modified the trial order. He did that in late January. He put it because the parties, what they did is they came to him and said, Judge, we need a little bit more time. Could you give us a little bit of an extension of time? And he did. He signed that. It's an amended order. It's January 31st. And that tells you the schedule that we're on right now. Motions in limine were due February 24th, and that's when we saw a few filed by the state on the 21st of February, the rest of them filed by both sides on the 24th, and they were originally under seal. He signed an order on the 28th because we were all waiting. Where are the in limine motions? Where are the in limine motions? They were not, they didn't drop until just recently, because Judge Hippler signed an order saying he basically had to look at them. And he's now released, I think, all of them. The next stage is March 17th is when the responses. It goes motion, response, reply. Those are the briefings. The motions deadline closed on the 24th of February. The 17th, which is next week, is when the responses are due. So if you're the moving party and you filed a motion in limine, for example, on this IGG, okay, that's a defense motion in limine. The response from the state came away week early. They filed it. I was very impressed. I haven't seen very much of that, but they filed it on the 10th when they really didn't have to file it on the 17th. You're going to see the rest of the responses to either side's motions in limine before the 17th because that's Judge Hippler's deadline. And then comes what's called the reply. That is the last stage. And that comes on the 24th of March. The reply responds to the response. So it's the moving party files a motion, then the other side files the response in opposition, and then you have the reply brief. They're not supposed to re-argue their entire IGG motion, for example. They're just supposed to respond to what the other side said, and then boom, the last stage of it is oral argument per the trial order and also the order of the 31st that modified that trial order. Judge Stephen J. Hippler has said, April 9th. Put that date on your calendar if you enjoy this case and you want to watch these hearings live. April 9th for sure. And then just like he did with the suppression motion, and if necessary, we'll continue on to the 10th. And the number of motions that we're seeing, Audrey, and how complicated some of them are, it's going to be a 2-day event at least. They may even need to add another day. And then Hippler makes his rulings after that. So we are in a interesting stage right now because what we have is we have the motions for both sides that have been made public. Then we've seen one of the responses. Now we are awaiting the replies, and we were saying, I think these hearings are going to be public. Like a lot of my viewers, and that, well, hey, are they going to be public? Private? I don't know. We have to wait and see. Judge Hippler usually puts something out a couple days ahead of time. But Audrey, I mean, if these motions are public, why is he going to close the hearings? Can you think of a reason why? Because
True.
he won't do that.
No, and he's been unsealing things, so I think that they will be open. This is the trend I think we're going to see in the future. And I just wanted to say hello to some of our
Good to see you.
DNA stars in the chat. I see Kid Kitty, hello. Miss Potts, hello. Sarah the Irish, hello. Welcome.
Hello to everyone. Hello to
Good to see
everyone.
you all.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, Audrey and I decided to just have like a chat over a late afternoon cup of coffee, and we said let's go live on your channel, Audrey. Why don't we do that? So glad to have some company with us.
Yeah. It's so much fun to have conversations with you, Kathy. It's just, we were backstage and we were just talking, waiting for a little bit to go live. And I was like, Kathy, this is so interesting. We just got to go live, just us two talking, and it's just great. So I got a question for you, Kathy. With these motion in limine, I didn't even think that to look back on one of Hippler's motions that would, that set the schedule. So is the next step now the hearing so that the defense, they don't have another chance to respond? Does it just go straight to the hearing?
No. We're right now smack in the middle of the briefings period. It goes the way that they're set up, and this goes back to the motion to strike the DP motion for the suppression motions, the in limine motions. When you hear the term briefings, that means 3 papers. The initiating motion, that's an application for a court order. So here we see defense, Judge Stephen J. Hippler, we would like you to render an order striking IGG from the record, and we want you to sanction, and we want, Brady violations all over the place. The other side has a due process right to respond. And so we have seen, and I say I have to commend the state. They came in a week early with this. We have not seen that. Usually what the parties will do is if Hippler sets a deadline by court order, or this really goes back to the trial order that we were talking about, and then he amended it a little bit, gave him a few more days. They filed a week early. The second briefing document is the response in opposition. So you have defense initiating party on this number 11 in limine motion. Then the other side, this is the state. Hippler said, okay, guys, 24th of February, that's your deadline. You get your in limine motions in, unless you have good cause why you're getting it in later, then you got to go to Hippler and you got to ask him, "So, Judge Hippler, pursuant to blah, 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 this is our reason why." You don't want to do that, because he's very schedule oriented. So it was the 24th of February, the motions in limine are due. Then it's the response. This is the other side now responding, saying, "No, Judge Hippler, the defense doesn't know what they're talking about. You have to deny this. You got to deny this motion, this application for a court order, and here's why." And then the defense gets the last say because they're the initiating party. They come back and they file what's called a reply. Those are due the 24th. This is next week of March. And then Judge Hippler will have, I'm predicting this is going to be at least a 2-day hearing. He's already set the date of the 9th. If you'll see it on the case summary page, there's a hearing on the 9th of April in limine motions. And although it doesn't say so on the case management page, and I really wish it would, he has set aside the 10th also. And like I say, I'm predicting, I would not be surprised if this is going to go into another day because it's so long. But then, so then once that's when they do oral argument. They're going to do oral, they're going to get up, last opportunity. Here's your opportunity. Get up there and persuade Judge Hippler. They may have some live testimony. We don't know. We're going to have to, look at the replies to try to figure that out. And then they do oral argument. And then he rules, just like he did with the suppression motion when, unfortunately for the defense, all of them got denied.
So, Kathy, we have a question here for you from Miss Potts.
Hi, Miss Potts. How are you?
Miss Potts asks, "I would love to know what Kathy thinks about the footnotes referencing the snap of the sheath may not have been swabbed after all, getting them all on record about where the snap was swabbed."
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, Ms. Potts, and I am very much looking forward to the hearings coming up again on the 9th and 10th of April. Ladies, it's going to be a 2-day event. Mark your calendars for both days, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in this case, because this case, we said that suppression motions were extraordinarily important, and they were, but these in limine motions are so fascinating and interesting. Ms. Potts, I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to address that, how the defense is going to argue that to Hippler, what Hippler is going to think about that, how the state's going to come back and oppose that. So another reason why I'm very happy. It looks like these hearings are going to be open to the public. Thank you very much for the First Amendment. That we're finally realizing that, before we get to the 4th and the 6th and the 14th, there is a First Amendment there, ladies and gentlemen, in the Bill of Rights. Look at Miss Potts has already made sure she is scheduled for both days. There you go. Hey, Miss Potts, there's going to be a lot of information. I mean, that day is going to be crucial. And we can all, just by looking at Hippler, you can sort of get a little bit, even though he tries to be with his poker face and everything, some of the questions that he asks, like when we were privy to the open session of the suppression motion on this IGG stuff right here, some of the questions he was asking, like standing defense, we forgot about standing. I said, he's going to deny this motion. You need standing, guys. You need, that's what the Idaho Supreme Court said to the media coalition when they tried to get this non-dissemination. I call it a gag order. Sorry, judge, but that's what it was. When they tried to get this set aside, Idaho Supreme Court said, yes, you have standing. You have a present injury and a reason to be before the court. I keep saying, Audrey, I know how, it's creative, but hey, that was my DNA too. That was passed down from my grandparents. I didn't give my authority to have that DNA tested. Something like that to get your foot in the door with standing. So yes, let's expect the unexpected from Judge Hippler. He'll probably throw us a few, what do they call them, Easter eggs, a few kernels of information. We may have some good understanding as to where he's going to be going, circling back to Ms. Potts's question right there.
Yeah, he's a wild card, this Judge Hippler. I just want to say some more hellos in here before we move on. Hello, woke up, and hello, Miss Q. Welcome. I wanted to get behind Hitler because I kind of respect him, where
Mm-hmm.
he seems like he's strict but efficient,
Yep.
smart and thoughtful, that he wants to run his courtroom, like a well-oiled machine, that and there's some goodness there. And I thought that he would know a little bit more about the DNA.
Oh,
And the reason why I say that is because he was talking a lot about fingerprints, and I really think he has like a 1990s education when it comes to DNA. But
wow.
hopefully that he has a little bit more, and we'll hear a little bit more about that. He does know more than what he was leading on, even though he was just asking questions. I hope there's more there from him
Well,
in regard
just
to the DNA.
if I could make 2 points, Audrey, you are very up on DNA. You're very up on science. You're up on these scientific methods. I'm not. Hitler might not be. And we got to go back to Judge John Judge's October 25th, 2023. That very long order where it should be called, and this is why the dockets drives me crazy sometimes, because it doesn't give you information even on what the order is about. That order of October 25th, you know what I'm talking about. We've talked about this one before. That's when the third and fourth motions to compel were entertained, and that was what that order was to. And it just says order regarding DNA. No, Judge, you should have called it the order granting in part the defense's motion to compel. And, intent. And then that's when he went into the in-camera inspection. He even said, Audrey, I think it was like on page 10, 11, it's buried in that thing. But he said, this is a case of first impression. That means there's not a whole lot of other case law that he can go to in this new emerging area of the law, to go to see how the Idaho Supreme Court rule on this particular thing regarding IgG DNA. Well, they know. Let's look at some other courts. How does another state court? How do the federal courts? He says this is a first impression, so you have to kind of get under that car with a bunch of mechanics and try to figure out what is the solution here. So I think Hitler might be in the same area. But going back to the motion to compel hearings, you had one Bicca Barlow who was a defense witness, and who I say helped the defense quite a bit in succeeding in getting some, not all, but some of the IgG DNA evidence turned over to them, after battling. I think that they said that it was the third supplemental request for discovery is when they asked for it, and it took about 5 months, before they got it. So now we have Becca Barlow, pro hoc vice attorney for Brian C. Koberger. So she wrote, this was her first filing on behalf of the defense. It was this motion in limine number 11. She signed it. I think she will be extremely efficient when she gets up. Now, we don't know how Hitler's going to take this or not. And I'm concerned about a couple of things they've thrown in here, both sides. But when she gets up, she's going to be able to speak at a more sophisticated level. And she speaks in a way where you don't have to be doing DNA IgG for 10 years to understand what she's saying. She's got a way to I don't want to say dumb it down, but she's got a way to put it that people who are not like you, Audrey, that really, that you're interested in this, you went to college for it, you deal with it, that we can understand.
That's very true. Yes. So, and that's the whole reason why I got on here, is to help do the same thing. And Becca Barlow
Yeah.
is she's absolutely amazing. I think she was made for this case. She's definitely going to get in the courtroom and do exactly what you were saying. And I can't wait to hear all these arguments, whether
Oh,
they're good or bad, or I agree with them or I don't. I'm so excited to hear them.
Yeah, because now, I mean, we're all here in search of the truth. I've said that before. I've said it a million times on my podcast. I've said it on the YouTube channel. I've said it in conversation when we have just offline conversations with friends and colleagues that are interested in the case in my real world, my life. But we want to know what happened. What happened at 1122 King Road? on November 13th, 2022, that led to, from what we know, no one's seen the crime scene photos. No one wants to, I don't want to see them, but we need to know as the public what happened that day. We need to be in the courtroom to make sure that everything is operating properly. And I say be in the courtroom, either we watch it on the YouTube channel or we have members of the press and, more importantly, the independent journalists in there. This is what the media coalition said. Judge Stephen J. Hippler, First Amendment, it was instituted and implemented by the framers of the Constitution for that purpose, to make sure we don't deal with private criminal trials, pre-trials. Any member of the public should be able to walk into that courtroom and watch the proceedings. A period, end of discussion. And it has been so closed for so long. We're finally, very, very happy to see these documents come out, because things that I read, a year ago, year and a half ago, and friends of mine, now it's starting to make sense. Okay, now we get it. But we all want the truth, wherever that leads us. We weren't there. We a lot of people have been very sus over the fact that so much has been hidden, but hey, there's a possibility he was involved. We don't know. I don't know Brian Koberger. I never met him. I don't, we weren't there that night. Or he could be real. I mean, it goes from one extreme to the other. I've never seen a case like, somebody put a comment up on my channel, I think it was today or yesterday. I bet you've never seen a case like this. And I said, that's why I dedicated myself 100% to this case. When I started the channel, the podcast, it was to be a true crime podcast where I, do a few different, and I said, oh, no, 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 no. This one, after I did the affidavit of probable cause, that's the first few episodes, I said, I have to make a commitment here that if I'm going to cover this case, it needs exclusive coverage. And that's what we've done. And the biggest complaint I've complained many, many times is the closed nature of this hearing, of this proceeding, and so much behind seal, and for stupid reasons, in my humble opinion, or reasons that made no sense. And we got a good indication that the hearings are going to be open to the public. There might be, some portion where they have to go into closed session. Okay. But like Hippler said, that should be the exception, not the norm. Now, what I'm looking forward to, because a few people have asked, what about voir dire? Is voir dire going to be closed to the public? There is no, if you look at the pretrial and trial order, October 9th, 2024, it has voir dire. To me, that's the start of the trial right there. I don't know what this, August 11th business is. That's maybe when he's targeting the case in chief, but what if there's no jury selected by then? Or what if jury selection goes really quick? Are they really going to, have nothing happen for 2 weeks with the jury picked and the alternates picked? So the question, and then I kept out, hey, voir dire is going to be closed, right? Voir dire jury selection will be closed. And I said, I don't think so. So I looked at the pretrial and trial order. It doesn't say it's a closed proceeding. The only thing that's redacted and closed has to do with the questionnaires, which there's a hearing coming up about that on the 16th of April, and that is closed to the public. But that voir dire should be open. And then I looked up, I did a podcast episode, and, just to answer some questions. And I cited to the United States Supreme Court case from 1984 that says voir dire is open. It is open if there's a limited exception, and it has to be like there's some other overriding reason. That is how the framers, the Constitution, our law evolved from England. And that's what they put into place in 1789 when the Constitution was passed. So then I had someone say, "Oh, I bet you they're going to figure out a way to close that to the public." And possibly, but he's going to have to make findings of fact and conclusions of law. So let's keep our eyes peeled for anything that looks like that, looking to close voir dire, because jury selection should be open to the public.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I just want to say some hellos. We have Twiz, hi, and Yvette, welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Let's see.
Oh,
saw
there's
2 comments in here, I
Sarah.
think.
Yeah, Sarah's got my favorite question right up there. Do you see where it says up there? 5 or 6 subpoena ducis tecum and 2 regular subpoenas have been issued. Isn't it? Do you see where she says that up there? Sarah, this is
Yes,
this is a bone of contention for myself, because what I was doing What Sarah D. Irish is referring to are there were 4 subpoenas that were issued in February, early February, and 2 were subpoena ducas tecums, that means subpoenas with documents, and 2 were just regular subpoenas, which means seems to be subpoenas for testimony. Subpoena ducas tecum could also be a subpoena for testimony, like you get yourself to the courthouse on such and such a date, you bring these documents with you, or you can arrange to provide them to defense counsel or whoever, contact this number and you'll be excused from having to appear at the courthouse or deposition or whatever. Now Sarah is bringing up. So Sarah, I've done episodes of both the podcast and on our YouTube channel pointing out to my followers. I wanted to bring it to their attention to look on the case summary page, which is where Sarah's getting this, that there were 4 of them that were issued in like I said, in like around the 8th or something, like the 8th to 12th, something like that, of February. And we were waiting for it to appear on the docket. They still have not appeared on the docket. We're a month later, and those subpoena ducas tecums, and there's no order. I see no Judge Stephen J. Hippler order saying that needs to be under seal. And now we find out that there's a couple more. So, I want to see those subpoenas. The public has a right. Those are Word documents. If you look on the case summary page and you see something with a PDF icon, Audrey, that tells you that should be a document that's going to be released to the public. What the clerk does is they get the filings, and the ones that show up real quick are the orders, right? So you'll see it on the public docket and you can read it for yourself. And I always encourage my listeners, don't take this. I'm going to point out a few things for you, but I want you to read the documents so you can make your own opinion as to what you feel about this. I think this is the most important case in the entire country right now. Where's the subpoenas?
Oh, yeah.
Who decided to withhold them from the public? I'm up my soapbox, Audrey. I'll take a sip of this Perrier over here.
I love it. I love it. We have some more DNA stars in the chat. Hello, Preston B. Hello, Meg P. Oh, we have Christina Vada. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Now, Audrey, I wanted to bring to your attention another matter, if I could. All right, so the case summary page.
Absolutely.
Case summary page, what it should have is it should have the pretrial and trial order hearings on it. Right now, the next hearing, although we do have a couple of documents, like there's a motion to compel that the defense has recently filed. They want a 1-hour hearing with Hippler. There's another motion in there where they've asked, hey, Judge, if you can't rule on the papers, I'm asking for a hearing. Keep looking at the case summary page if you're interested in hearings on the case, because that will tell you, generally speaking. Now, the clerk has dropped the April 10th date. So as as some of your listeners have said here in chat, they've set aside the 2 days. Definitely set aside April 9th and 10th, even though April 10th isn't up there for the in limine hearings, because guaranteed this number of motions in limine, you're going to see 2 days of hearings, possibly a third. The next one is April 16th. That is a closed hearing. How do we know that? We refer back to the Judge Stephen J. Hippler pretrial and trial order. And if you look at page, I think it's on page 2, it is the jury questionnaires. That is the hearing on the proposed jury questionnaires that will be used at the aforementioned voir dire to help the parties determine if they want to, of all the people that are going to be called for jury, summoned for jury duty, to show up on July 30th and thereafter. What the parties will do is ask them questions, and it'll come from this, and they have to fill out the questionnaire when they come in, and then the parties get to review it and they can ask the follow-up questions. And then from there, they might have a consultant in the courtroom. Sometimes you see that with big cases where a jury consult, look at the body language. They're going to, okay, well, this person does this, ask this question. What's to say now? Whoa, who said that? Subpoenas are not public documents and they are not filed on the case, although they are invented in doing some. Well, you know what? They published a subpoena, Ducas Tecum, back in January. I forget what the date was, but it was for the suppression motion hearing. And it was a blank document. In Idaho, you can do that, but we found out that it was a document that was that the defense asked for, the name of whoever was being subpoenaed, that's all blanked out. They fill it out when they get it. But we knew that that was going to be for the suppression hearing because it required the person who received it to turn up at 8 o'clock in the morning for the 9 o'clock a.m. January 23rd, 2025 suppression hearings. They were to turn up on the 23rd at 8. So we were able. It's on there, Sarah. If you look, and I know you're very up on the documents. Go look at the docket. You'll see it. Oh, we came across them and realized they were posted in error. You'd like to see. You would need to complete. Oh, for Pete's sake! It's a PDF document. That's see right here. It's a. Oh wait, they're doing something different here, huh? Okay, they don't have the PDF or this is this new revamped Idaho cases of judicial interest. They switched
Yes, it
over to
is.
this. I like the old case. Oh, wait, we have to go into the case summary page. Scratch that, everybody. We got to go to the case summary page and open it up. And if you see, mark my words, you go back to the beginning of the case. The things that are closed and sealed have a little lock and key icon. PDF, those documents are public records. I don't understand why a subpoena is not public record. Who decided that? Oh my God. Do you remember when this?
There we
I
go.
remember the days when this was 20 pages. It's now what? It's almost 70, right? Oh, it's beyond 70. It's 75, 76. Yes. There was a time when you
Yeah.
could look down this and or even the docket itself. I remember, like we were talking to CJ last time we were on his show, and he was like, "I'll go on to the Idaho Cases of Judicial Interest web page." This is, we're very fortunate that we do have this because this way you don't have to go on to where's Ada County, where's the Koberger case, and then you take forever. They publish these records right here. And but the problem is when Koberger was case was first initiated, his case was all the way at the top, and there would just be a few documents because it was a relatively new case, and many of the documents were under seal. But then as time went on, he fell down. He's like number 3 or 4 in the list, and CJ's like he's going past it into Laurie Daybell or something, and like what
Yeah,
appeal?
right.
What's this, right? Yeah.
We have
Hey, there's
CJ in the
CJ.
house now.
Nice to see you.
Welcome, CJ. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first learned about this case, I was looking for it, I was Googling it. And then I found it. I was like, oh, how nice is that? They put it right up front on the first thing on the website. That was great.
I'm on it every day because I
Yeah.
have to, I have to do daily reports for the podcast. And even I'm like, wait a second here. Notice of, and you're like, oh, geez, I went past it again, and then you got to go back and it's unsearchable too, which is the problem. If you really want to read these documents, and I encourage everybody, please read the documents. Please read the documents, and then you'll understand why this case is so important. It's hard to find them because even on the how they word them, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the document that it appears to be. Oh, okay. So here we go. Here's our next. See, I would like to file a complaint with the clerk's office. You got to put in there the 10th as well because people are not going to know that Judge Hippler has set aside
Oh,
the
yeah.
10th. All right. So here's our next hearings. Remember, there's a couple of others out there that are floating that might get set. We will wait to see if we get a notice of hearing on them that per the defense's recent motions. The 16th, that's closed. That's going to be closed. That is for the parties to come together. They're going to submit what their proposed jury questionnaires are. And the hearing is closed. The jury questionnaires are filed under seal. Hippler has called this hearing, and then from there, he's going to then decide what the questionnaire. Now, if you look at the pretrial and trial order, the only part that's redacted is the date, having to do with this jury questionnaire. But we can kind of make an educated guess. It's not going to happen before May because Hippler needs some time to look at everything. He usually takes a couple, 3 weeks before he comes to some conclusion as to what the questionnaire is going to look like. And that is so crucial. You better believe they're probably working real hard on these questionnaires right now, or proposed. They better let us in.
Absolutely.
Look at Twizzle. Which one, Twizzle Stick? Which they better let us in? For Dyer? That's my kick. I want everyone to know they better let us in. Voidire, and this is directly from the Supreme Court, 1984 case, that the Supreme Court has said how important Voidire is that the public be in there. And that's how the framers of the Constitution wanted it. In order for Voidire to be closed to the public, Hitler's going to have to make some findings of fact and conclusion of law, and somebody's going to have to file a motion for that. Don't be surprised if it's both sides together, because they like things under seal. On the 9th. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Twizzle. We're making a fearless prediction, Audrey and I, that based on the fact that so many of these documents have recently dropped and they're public. Judge Hippler, why would you hold a closed hearing unless you had to discuss something maybe having to do with the grand jury, because that's come up in a couple of these things? Okay, we understand that, but everything else, I mean, I think it should be open. What do you think, Audrey?
Absolutely, it should be open. And I was just thinking that I know that he's extremely busy because isn't he the administrative judge? And so I would think that if you're sealing all of these things, that might be a little bit extra work for him. So he might just want to say, let's just do it that we normally do it. There's no need for all this sealing,
That's
which
a
is
good
great. And
point.
I hope that's how he keeps going. Yeah.
Yeah, Audrey
Oh,
brought
we
up an
have a few
excellent
more.
point.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Audrey has brought up an excellent point that Judge Hippler is indeed the administrative judge. That means he has to come up with policies and procedures and on how the entire judicial circuit runs, all of it. So sometimes you'll see on some of his orders in Idaho versus Koberger, it won't say district court judge, it will say administrative judge. So sometimes I think he forgets that, okay, now I got my district court judge hat on because we're in Idaho versus Koberger here. Open it all up. Yeah, that's what I say. Open up everything. Stop with this nonsense that this case needs to be under seal. We were talking before you guys came in, Audrey and I, that this is like a 10,000 piece puzzle. And at the beginning of the case, between the gag order and everything that was filed under seal, and both sides signed that first the stipulation for the first gag order. So we can thank both sides for that. That's not the defense, it's not the state, it's both. And then they started with all of the supplemental requests for discovery, 1 to 22. What they do is they will say, okay, we're serving our 7 supplemental requests for discovery. The things we're asking state to turn over, i.e. the evidence that we believe is in the state's position, it's in Schedule A or it's in Schedule O. And then the state responds, okay, we're responding to the 7th supplemental request for discovery and our responses and objections are in Schedule O. So that's the one thing that they seem to have been on the same page on, that so much of the case needs to be under seal. But Hippler, he admonished both sides at the hearing. Remember, with the media coalition, the interveners, interested parties, they came around this time. Same judge though, Wendy, I forget her last name, but he said at that hearing, I've told you guys, knock it off with these things under seal. And then he entered an order recently that said it needs to be, you need to be specific, you need to give good cause, it needs to be the exception, not the rule, that things are under seal. I think he's getting concerned about the media coming out. And I think that if he tries to have Dyer be closed, that I think the media coalition will go back to the Idaho Supreme
Yeah.
Court and say, hey, judge, here's the Supreme Court right here. Supreme Court of the United States, 1984. Needs to be open to the public. I got a little, I don't know, crumb thrown that might be something that the state's going to do. Look to have Dyer under seal. Why? Because one of their in limine motions on the immediate families in the courtroom, they didn't have the immediate families in the courtroom on July 30th. They want the immediate families in the courtroom on August 11th. And I said to myself, okay, let's wait for this motion to seal Dyer, that might be coming up. I could be wrong, but we're going to have to wait and see.
That's a great point. I didn't think about that, but yeah, It's definitely very possible, especially if they want them in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
We have
Supreme.
some more DNA stars. Let me just say hello. Welcome, Leah. Welcome, Truth and Justice with Anna D. Welcome, Justice. I think I got them all. Thank you.
So happy to have everyone
Welcome,
here.
everybody.
Happy. Thank you for being
Toast.
here.
We have a toast.
Hi, Toast.
Welcome.
Yeah, and as Miss Q is saying right here, please like this episode, and that way you'll get notifications when Audrey does go live. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, this stuff about the DNA, I definitely need my help. I need her to help me to interpret. So I always like everything, so I get notifications when she goes live, and even if I can't be there live, I'll listen afterwards, because this DNA stuff is going to it's coming back big. It's one of the documents we're going to be talking about, right, Audrey? But yeah, let's take a look at this. Audrey has up, this is what, Audrey, what is this, page 75? This is 75. Okay.
Yes.
75 to 76,
Oh,
case
it's
summary page. Like
76.
this
76.
is, of course, we got the jury. Okay. Very misleading things right here. Number one, we have hearings scheduled on 7/21/2025. That's tied to pre-trial and trial order. I can't remember what that's for, but 100% July 30th, it's called a hearing. That is not hearing. That is voir dire. That is the official start of the trial, in my opinion, because this is a trial not by judge, it's a trial by jury. And this trial cannot proceed without that jury. So he has it scheduled as hearing, or the clerk does. And then it says jury trial. No, jury trial starts July 30th. That is the official start of the trial. That's at least what I'm thinking. And the way he has this as a hearing, now I'm getting a little concerned that they may be looking to close this from the public. That jury selection is so critical. So critical. Don't you want to hear what these questionnaires were, what these, how they're
Oh,
responding,
yeah.
who they're looking to strike, who gets sat, and you don't know who's the alternative, who's the, regular, because they have to, this is going to be a couple months long trial. I'm predicting it's possibly even going to go longer than Hitler thinks it's going to go. But I want to hear
Oh,
that,
yeah.
and we have a right to. Supreme Court said. So let's keep an eye out for this motion to close that hearing, aka voir dire, start of the trial.
Okay, I see a few more faces in here. Welcome, Quality Emerald and Taurus Babe. Good to see you all. Yeah, like that's the whole reason for a jury trial, is so that, you have your peers, a jury of your peers, and also the public is a part of that process. So it definitely needs to be open. Oh my gosh. And especially this case.
This case is setting so many precedents, and I don't like the precedent that it's setting. I say that as a podcaster, I say it as a citizen, that it's setting regarding closing hearings that should be open to the public. Any member of the public should be able to walk into that courtroom whenever there's a hearing and watch the proceedings. It is a necessary part of making sure that everything works. Oh, yeah, there you go. Public thought OJ's trial would be 7 weeks. It ended up being 7 months. I'm calling 4 months. CJ, that's probably a good estimate, 4 months. So, July, and that's without voir dire, right? You're talking about case in chief, CJ, which would be August 11th. And case in chief, that's where the prosecution gets up. Judge Hippler is going to, hey, everybody, welcome, 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 do a through, and now, okay, prosecution, you're up. And that's where you're going to see Bill Thompson stand up and give his opening statement and try and persuade the jury. This is what the evidence is going to show over the next 4 months, and when I'm going to come back at the end of our case and ask you to bring back 5 guilty verdicts, first degree. There's not that much evidence in the case. Twizzle, we don't know. We don't know what the evidence is. We only have a few pieces of the puzzle right now because so much is under seal. Hopefully, we're going to start seeing a lot more getting dropped so that the public will know exactly what this case is about. I'm still I still don't know, although the picture's starting to get a little clearer.
Oh, hello, Mama's Thinking. Welcome. I am very looking forward to the science in this case, like the medical examiner and more about the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, we have some of the DNA stuff trickling out, and so that's exciting. But I can't wait for more of the science to come out. Oh, I am me. Welcome. Yeah. So I was reading back over Becca Barlow's declaration, and she has
Mm-hmm.
things in there about a database, like a cold hit on a database. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that that happened in this case because they put in or whatever workup they did on that SNP profile, and they put it in the ancestry database, and the database, it gave them a return, an output. And so when you have cases like that, that's one thing is identification, but you also need the how and the why, especially with that transfer DNA, because like Becca Barlow said in her motion in limine for the terms touch DNA and contact DNA, that it's not possible right now in our current understanding of the trace transfer DNA to know when it transferred. And so I feel like when you have these database hits, you need that other linking evidence to be able to say, okay, I have identity here. Now let's get to the how and the why, which would be more of the evidence. And so far, I don't think we've seen a lot of that. So if
No.
they do have more, no.
No, we haven't seen it. You're right. We haven't seen a lot of it. And what we have, it's like, okay, you have unknown male profiles. Why didn't you test them? And he comes back with it made very, very little sense to me. I'm sorry. When Detective Rhett Payne indicated that, well, we already had, well, I was like, yeah, you had Koberger, so why look at these other two profiles? He made up what did he say again, Audrey? Because I know this is right up your alley. Something about if they put in another profile that it would mess up what they had already done. I don't know.
Yeah, they would lose the one that they already had in there.
How's
That
that
is just
possible?
so untrue. It's not.
How's that possible? How does he
Like,
sit up there and say that? I'm quite curious because that issue is going to come up big time in these next eliminate hearings on a couple of these motions, including the one that you have right here, IGG. That's eliminate motion number 11, and we as the public need some further understanding. Because let's just say, okay, for argument's sake, let's just say they got the right person. Okay, but then there's two other people. There were other accomplices. You're not going to want to look into them as well. I'd want to know every step that you took to try to identify. And he said, well, we had Exhibit A over here. We had the sheath. So that seemed, but it's like, if this were three people that were in, wouldn't you want to make sure that all three were off the streets? Do we want to have this happen at some other college or university?
absolutely. And from my understanding, they broke procedure because the standard operating procedures is you test the blood first and
Right.
not the trace transfer DNA.
Yeah, I mean that's
So,
direct. I mean that's BLOOD, right? That is direct.
yeah. And so then after you establish the identity to those blood profiles, then if you want to continue further in the investigation, then maybe the trace transfer DNA could be the actual accomplice. But
Exactly.
they didn't follow, the scientific community. That's what they recommend, and that's the lab. The lab standards are to do the blood first.
Right.
I
No, I
was
mean, that
reading
makes
that.
sense. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. But they said, hey, we got this sheath over here. We're going to forget about this BLOOD. And look at how it was described. It was described as going down. Wouldn't that suggest that somebody, this wasn't, residue from a firearm? These atrocities didn't happen with a firearm. They happened with blade, and as quoting Kathy Mabott, when she gave that interview, this was a very BLOODY scene. So if you see BLOOD going from 2 to 1, it's not described as going from 1 to 2. It's described as going from 2 to 1, suggesting that after the crimes happen, then somebody's running downstairs to get out the front door. I don't understand that. And then there's a glove outside. Oh well, the kids could have had. What? Why would you? What are you doing that you would need gloves on that have BLOOD in a house where there was a mass unaliving by a blade? I I would like, as a member of the public and a podcaster, to have a better answer than we were given by Detective Brett Payne on January 23rd, 2025, in that transcript that just came out a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So, you know how they were saying that there was no blood trail out of the house? Well, there actually is. It's the bloody glove.
Right.
I would say that that is the trail.
Criminal leaving the house. Hey, your witness
Yep.
is saying walked in the direction of one of the exits, one of the 2 doors to the house, one being on the first floor, sliding glass door in the back, walking that way, takes off the glove, discards it. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And oh gosh, I just lost it. Oh, we have a few more. I am me. Welcome, Ben Rooster. Oh, Too Fast for Flea's best name made it in here. Good to see you. Yeah, so not only do you have a blood DNA profile, you have a potential trail outside the house. And so that to me is just a lot more compelling than some
Information.
minute
Right.
trace transfer DNA.
Well, like you said also, protocol in the community, in the scientific community, is you test the BLOOD first, right? You test that. Although
Right.
I have to say, they got to come up with some explanation for that sheath being there with his, even if it's just transfer, because the jury hears that fact. That's not good. That's not a good fact. So time will tell how they're going to
Sure.
explain this away, or explain how it was that it was, whether it was touch, whether it was transfer, whatever it was, how it got on that sheet on the bed where 2 of the victims were found.
Yeah. Oh, we have a comment from CJ here. He says, they never even searched the woods or backyards of the area behind the house up the hill. Yeah, I didn't see them searching over there at all. I saw them standing in a parking lot, kind of looking and pointing, and that was the gist of what I saw with the crime scene photos from the media. I wonder how the jury is going to take that. I'm sure if Ann or Bickett Barlow can bring that up, they will. Well, they've already brought up the glove and the handrail. They'll probably bring up, the glove outside that would possibly be the trail.
Well, Twizzle brings up another interesting point here. How much will it matter when the cell data shows he wasn't in Moscow that night? Now, very interesting point that he brings up here, because I would have expected the state, if the defense disclosed Cyray, we don't know. We don't know because it's under seal. We know who more of the state's experts are for case in chief, because the defense is seeking to strike some of those opinions. So we got a lot more names from one of their in limine motions. I haven't seen a state motion to strike Cy Ray on the grounds that it's, because he got stricken in Colorado in a case. And he talks about it openly. I was really expecting one, but then the question becomes, was Cy Ray disclosed as an expert? Was somebody else, whoever it is, they're going to have to talk about those phone pings, and that they're going to have to substantiate their position that he was in the park and he was nowhere near Moscow through that expert testimony. So, good news for the defense that the state is not looking to strike anyone as an expert witness. This would have been the time to do it on an in limine motion.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. I think I saw another comment. Was it from CJ? Here we go. CJ says, I wonder how they're going to explain the DNA dirty glove from the investigators. Oh, yes, the crime scene contamination.
You know what? I was pretty
Yeah,
surprised
that's
that
going
I
to be a
didn't
big
sit.
one.
I'm very, CJ
What?
brings up a good point. I'm very surprised that there was no motion in limine challenging the, what is it, how the evidence, the policies and procedures regarding evidence and coming in and maybe say it was contaminated, it was this, it was that. I'm losing the term, Audrey. What's the policy chain of custody? I'm surprised I didn't see a chain of custody
Yes.
challenge in an in limine motion. And that would kind of go into what CJ was saying here. We all witnessed that on his podcast. If you haven't already, you definitely want to check out CJ's podcast because he has a lot of really compelling research. He recreated the trail of suspect vehicle one. Very eye-opening to see all of the lights and all of the cameras that would have exposed someone. And if someone is driving from Pullman, whatever it is, 10 to 12 miles away, there was another route that you could take that CJ also recreated, the route that suspect vehicle one should have taken, because there would have been less of an opportunity to have been caught on all of these ring cameras, all these business cameras, and so forth. Yeah, there's his channel. If you haven't already, yeah, go into, definitely look at the recreation of SV1, and he recreates it again from the affidavit of probable cause.
Yes, CJ has the best footage that I've seen of anything that's on YouTube for Moscow. So definitely check that out. CJ has a great show, very informative. Oh, we have a question here from Truth and Justice with Anna D. She says, so it's too late for the state to file any more motions in limine. Is that correct?
Excellent question. We have to refer back to Judge Stephen J. Hippler orders, actually 3, to answer this one. Number 1, Judge Hippler is very organized, as I think Audrey was referring to, that at least you kind of know when things are due, as you have some notification as the public as well as the parties. Motions in limine were listed in the pretrial and trial order as schedule for the briefings and also for the hearings. He was, the parties got together in January and said, Judge, we would like an adjournment of that schedule. We need a little bit more time. We're still in the middle of discovery. So this was the parties together. That's the only time he's modified the trial order so far. And what he did at first, there's 2 orders you're going to see in January. One's January 30th, where he put it, and I said, well, what's this? You're putting the replies and the responses due on the same day, Judge Hippler? That's got to be, maybe he made a mistake there, and the next day he must have heard us, because then he comes out with the amended in limine motion schedule. So Truth and Justice, True Crime of Anna D., per the Judge Hippler January 31st amended order. That's the one you want to look at. He puts together the briefing schedule and the oral argument. The briefings on the in limine motions are comprised of 3 things, same thing with the suppression motions. Motion, response, reply, then hearing, then ruling. Motions were due February 24th. Most of them got filed on February 24th, both sides. Some of the states, all of the defenses. State filed 4 on the 21st, which was the Friday before Monday, the 24th. Motions in limine are closed. We're like weeks beyond it right now. What's coming up due next are the responses from the other side to the opponents in limine motions trying to convince Judge Hippler, deny that motion, Judge, due March 17th per the January 31st order modifying the pretrial and trial order. And then finally, briefings are closed with the replies. That is not supposed to re-argue your entire case again. You just respond to what your opponent said in their response. No, they're wrong. Grant this motion. Here's why. And then everything. Then briefings are closed. That's it. No more on the motions in limine. Then come the hearings, which is Audrey. It's the 9th on the case summary page, but it's going to go 2 days. 9th and 10th is when that happens. So, long story short, truth and justice. I would imagine somebody trying to go to Judge Hippler now or in a month saying, "Oh, Judge Hippler, we just have some new evidence. We didn't know about this. We need to file a motion in limine now." Good luck.
Yes,
Because
great question.
then he's having to amend basically the trial order again. He wouldn't have driven. Yeah,
Yeah, he definitely doesn't want to do that.
100%.
So
Audrey,
CJ brings up,
I have to go
yeah,
grab some water. Let me grab some water. Yeah, this is a great question that CJ just posed right here. I'll be right
okay,
back.
great, all right. So, so CJ says BK knew digital footprints. He wouldn't have driven that PCA route. He would have driven the route that I showed he would have. Yes, excellent point, CJ. When you were showing us the route that makes the most sense, that definitely would be the way, yeah, that he would have gone because he understands digital footprints. He understands these types of technology and cloud computing and probably the GPS grid and all where all the cameras are. Like he would just generally be aware of those things. So that's an even more important reason to watch CJ's footage of when he was driving in Moscow. And
Yeah,
he really does make a very good point. It just doesn't make sense to go the way the PCA route is laid out.
100%. That is such important
Welcome.
research, right? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, it is. We're so lucky to have that. Welcome,
Because
Bunny Murphy. Welcome, my Rastafa. Go ahead,
because
Kathy.
CJ was out there before the house got raised. So therefore, he's taking you both ways. He's taking you, and if you when you watch this research, and anyone interested in the case really needs to, I recommend have the PCA out in front of you, have it up on a screen or print it, and you'll see how he's dictating. Okay, we're on Nevada Way. We're here. We're there. There's a camera. There's a camera. There's a camera. Now the alternate video, and I think what's it called, CJ? The route he should have taken. You're all the things that you just said, Audrey. All right, this is supposed to be a criminal mastermind who knows now not to drop his DNA in this house, frantically unaliving 4 people in a matter of minutes. I mean, running up and down those wooden steps, and maybe, okay, maybe they were sleeping or surprised. Maybe Zana was up and she was getting her DoorDash, and then all of a sudden she sees this guy coming at her with. But still, imagine the frantic motions, because we've been led to believe it was just repeated. Imagine your sweat, your hair, blood. You cut yourself, you leave a drop of blood, or spit, sweat, hair, DNA, tears. All of that is your DNA, right, Audrey? And
Yes.
we need to see now. Maybe we've heard about, we have not seen the evidence. Okay, show me the money, to quote Tom Cruise from that one movie years ago. Show us the evidence. Show us the DNA. If there is no other DNA in that house other than what they've retrieved from the night, how is that possible given what this, you go in there with a firearm, different story. You can stand 10, 12 feet away, but you're up close and personal. You're holding the person down, or you're going to take DNA with you. You're going to take hair. You're going to take, victims. Just imagine what this horrendous this serial, horrible individual looked like at the end of what he or she did. Had to have been covered with a lot of stuff, a lot of DNA from the victims. Didn't get in the car, didn't get in the apartment in Pullman, didn't the office at WSU. DNA doesn't. Oh, could have cleaned it. I'm sorry. The things that I've seen from the feds and everyone experts, it's very difficult to get rid of every microscopic piece of DNA on you. You have to see how they take these cars apart to get down into the floorboards, to get into the,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah, and my Rastafa, thank you. He they brought that up earlier, and that it is. They were saying that it's very difficult to not get your DNA everywhere, just like you were saying, Kathy. And so it's just almost impossible to believe that there isn't any other a speck of DNA from Brian other than possibly the knife sheath.
And circling back to what CJ's research demonstrates is that you got this criminal mastermind who knows how not to drop and take. Okay, so he's wearing a Dickies outfit. What is that kryptonite to DNA? Is it? Oh, DNA. I can't go on that. I can't go on Coburger because he's got on this kryptonite type Dickies outfit from wherever it was, from Walmart, wherever he bought it. No, it doesn't work like that. So he's
Mhm.
that great of a criminal mastermind to get in and out without leaving a ton of evidence or taking a ton of evidence with him or both. But he's the dumbest person in the world for taking this public route rather than going. And then the argument against it, well, he's only been there a couple months. Maybe he doesn't know the back routes, how to get there. I don't know.
Oh, I see another DNA star. Welcome, Sandra. Um,
Can someone
yeah,
drop the link?
Twiz
Truth
also.
and Justice. Truth and Justice is asking for the link for CJ's video, and it's such important research. I cannot recommend it enough because the house is up. So when he's pulling into 1122 King Road, you don't see a lot. The house is still there, and he did it at about the same time, same part of the year. It's not like he went there in the spring. He went there the week of the first year anniversary. So conditions in terms of lighting would have been, substantial, maybe not exact, but substantially similar.
Yeah, it's the closest that anyone is going to get to what it would actually look like at that time of year. Absolutely amazing. Um, so CJ says here that he used to auto detail for a major sports team. And he said he couldn't even clean a vehicle that good to get the DNA
Wow.
BLOOD cleaned up. Um, and he made them look like they came off the showroom floor. Absolutely.
Wow. And that's using, industrial, probably the best of the best of type of, cleaning solutions. And you have professionals doing it, doing the detailing. And yes, so it gives us an indication of just how difficult. And then there's some, okay, well, he put plastic. He covered the interior of the car with plastic. All right. That's the
Oh,
other
this
argument.
moldy shower curtain.
The
Yeah,
moldy shower
moldy
curtain, right?
shower curtain.
Remember that one? Well, the good news is it does seem as though we're starting to get more and more of the evidence. It's like, both sides just knock it off with the filing of the things under seal. Give the public, I mean, in the past couple of weeks, we've gotten two photographs of suspect vehicle one, allegedly, if you follow the PCA, two photographs in one of the eliminate motions of what was supposed to be suspect vehicle one. Now I have to ask Auntie Taylor, why didn't you include the photographs of the 3-point turn? Because that's what I have been looking to see. That would have given you that car at every angle, right? That same camera at 1112 King Road would have captured the car turning, making that 3-point turn at the intersection of King and Queen. I'm hopeful that when the state files their response to this in limine motion, that's the one with SV1 in it, that they drop some of them from the 3-point turn. Because I would like to see those videos. Plus, it'd be great to be able to see the private driver's car, the DoorDash driver's car. Still a lot of that, but I mean, we've come such a long way for them to finally drop a couple of photos of SV1, which should have been released to the public with the Bolo. When the Bolo came out, we have to be thankful we have what we have so far, I guess.
Yeah. And, I would think because those pictures that of the vehicle, suspect vehicle 1 that Anne released in her motion for limine of the suspect vehicle 1, I would think that the prosecution would want to come back and say, no, we have better pictures so that we can see more, or the three-turn route that you're talking about now.
Show us Kohberger's car. You're saying you got video of the suspect vehicle 1 going up, and like what you see, Jay, and I was acting like he's a beauty contest. Go up and back, like on 3-point turns. You can see every attempted to park in front of 1122. Give us a photograph. We've all seen Kohberger's cars, right? We've seen it 3 times so far. We've seen it in the 2 stops in Indiana, and we saw it in the WSU stop. So we've seen it from the back, we've seen it from the side, we've seen him in it alone, him in it with his father. We haven't seen a photograph of that car in front of. Now they're saying that it is the 2 photographs. I think the state's saying that it's those 2 photos that they dropped. State, here's your opportunity to shine. Convince us. No, not a photograph of it near Pullman, near the house. There's a lot of people have said there's a photograph of it on Ridge Road right around the corner that really shows you that it's his car. Hey, here's your opportunity in limine response due the 17th of March. I'm going to look for that photo, Audrey. I don't know about you. You going to join me and look for that photo? Let's see it. Let's see it in the response to the in limine motion coming up due on the like we say, the 17th. Right? There you go. Twizzle Stick has the exact address. There it is. 1125 Ridge Road. That's supposedly the camera that caught a very important picture for the state, is what we are led to believe. I want to see it.
Yeah, like at what point does the state start advocating for their case and showing us and going in a forward motion of like, here, let me lay out our case for you?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is they don't want to. Well, you know what? The defense is sure showing a lot of. They showed suspect vehicle 1 allegedly. That was very important. So show us the 1125 Ridge Road. Drop in the 3-point turn as well, Bill Thompson, and in parking in front of the house. And if you can show me that car, and when I get that, I'm going to go to CJ. Could you blow this up, please? So we can see and make sure that it is a 2015 Hyundai Elantra with a Pennsylvania tag. But why hide that? The days of trust us. Okay, who was it? It was Captain Lanier. Trust us. You're gonna have to trust us. You're gonna. Okay, yeah. That didn't work. That didn't work in November, December of 2022. We are now mid-March of 2025. Like Audrey said, show the case, show the evidence.
Yeah, I mean, they have one job, which is to show the evidence, and they're being very cryptic about it all.
Yeah.
So CJ says they have so many cameras at all the major intersections with clarity beyond belief, all public cams you can go see now live. Yes, I remember in the 4th and 5th motions to compel, when Mallory was on the stand, that they did not preserve
What?
any of the traffic cams from windy.com or any sort of surveillance of, and I like, why wouldn't you reserve all of that, no matter if you saw the suspect vehicle on any of those cams or not? Oh, Backwood Beats, welcome.
It got stuck, so I'm
Good
going
to
drop.
see you. So my Rastafari says this case where the facts are in great dispute, BK asserts his innocence. There is no confession. There is no video or audio of the crime. There is no weapon, only trace DNA and a movable object. That is a very nice summary.
It's a very good point.
Yeah. So
Also, we can put on our wish
welcome,
list.
Caroline. Yes, what is it?
I would
What's on our
definitely
wish
like to
list?
see. We have been wondering, when did Detective Payne speak with Mr. Koberger? Was it before his arrest? Some people speculated that that might be it. Was it after his arrest? Well, it's pretty clear now because he flew out to Pennsylvania on the 30th. Not, he made it very clear. I know I wasn't there for the trash pull. He was there on the 30th for the arrest, and he was watching it, and he was waiting. And that's who Koberger is faced with when he is brought to the police station. I would like to see that transcript, or it's got to be on video. I would think they're saying, "Oh, it's not on video." Why not?
Oh, yeah, that's just. All right, we have a few more DNA stars in here. Welcome, Ro. Welcome,
Hi,
Jackie.
everybody.
Welcome, Caddy Crime Ghoul. Welcome, Sandra. Welcome, Caroline Prestige. I think I got you all. Yes,
Could we
they
talk?
don't really have much on camera. Go ahead.
Could we? Yeah, I mean,
What were you going to say, Kathy?
if they could just whatever their best photograph of suspect vehicle one, which Payne has said from the affidavit of probable cause, we believe is Mr. Koberger's 2015 Elantra with the Pennsylvania tag. Whatever your best single, it's got to be near the crime scene. Don't give us something in Pullman. Don't give us something 10 miles away. We want something near the house. I can't decide which one I would like to see. If it's going to be the 3-point turn, if it's going to be the car trying to park in front of 1122, or if it's the high quality one over in Ridge Road. I say drop all three of them, and I think you'll get a lot more people saying, "Okay, now we understand this case." If he's close to it, it still needs to be put in the house, but it gets us a few. It's a giant leap, toward their case in chief being accepted by, more of the public. None of this, stop with this. Oh well, wait until trial. No, this case should have been open to the public from the beginning. It was not. There were so many hearings that happened that the public never had notification of, sometimes until after they were done. So we've got to now backtrack. And like one of your listeners here, your viewers here said, it's not a 360, it's a 280. So now's the time. Now's the time. Get this evidence out.
Yeah. I mean, by the time we get to trial, all the evidence it will already be out, and it won't be a lot. So, I think now is the time for them to start releasing the information that they have and parts of their investigation. The
Yeah.
defense certainly is.
Yeah, they are. And they're the ones, I mean, it's like constitutional right, Sixth Amendment. Okay, that's Mr. Koberger's constitutional right to a fair trial. And he has released 2 photographs of what you're saying is suspect vehicle 1. Unless there's another car that looks just like it that, is right behind it or right in front of it. It's looking like the 2 photos that dropped are what Detective Payne described in the PCA. way back on December 29th, 2022. Now there are some of the stuff that got dropped brought raised now a couple of points in favor. I think either side, both sides. We now know, excited utterance, they're trying to get all of these hearsay statements in. Hearsay is an out of court statement made for the truth of the matter asserted, and that's a problem because you can't cross-examine a piece of paper or a transcript. That's why there's a big no to have out of court statements admitted in a case, but there are exceptions, such as excited utterance. They're pretty they're it's a pretty good bet that that's going to be as close to the truth as the deponent is seeing it at the time, because it's while things are happening. It's while they're on this call, and she's 4 o'clock in the morning. That cat came, oh boy, there's suspect vehicle one, allegedly, right? 4 o'clock in the morning is
Right.
when she's saying in the 911 call that this happened. So that's consistent. This was about 4 o'clock in the morning. But then there's also a statement they saw someone in the house. So that suggests that it's not just Dylan, it's Bethany also. And perhaps that's a clue to the public that she might have some exculpatory information if she also saw the person clad in black. And how is she describing this individual, and from what door, how could she have possibly seen it if she's down in the basement or the first floor, and this person supposedly is walking toward, unless she saw someone walk in through the front door, that's a possibility too. But she seemed to be surprised, in that, with the text, GTFU, when she said, yeah, he had a ski mask on as well, sort of like a ski mask covering his face. So, points made by both sides. I mean, you can take this information and you say, yeah, that's a point in favor of the state. I get that. This is a point in favor of the defense. One of my really great viewers, I've got great viewers, and they're both sides defense. And I invite people from both sides of the fence because we want good conversation, right? Goes, wow, they
Yeah.
described a man, not a kid, but a man. So that's a point in favor of this wasn't a college student, because why would you call, oh, it's some man. It was, oh, some kid, some student, maybe the way the body stood or something like that. Why is she describing him as a man and not? So I said, oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point in favor of this wasn't a college student. This was somebody a little bit older.
Yeah. That is a very good point. I didn't think of that. I did want to bring something to everybody's attention regarding the suspect vehicle one, that this window that we see here, that is a tinted window, and you can tell because it is so black. It's one of the blackest things in the photo. And if you see over here on the truck, you can see that it's see-through right here. You can see through the windshield. So this one is not as tinted. I can't tell if it is tinted or not, but this suspect vehicle one is. And you can tell also, again, because it's the blackest thing in this picture, but like I was saying before, each state has their own, laws, and each state has their own percentage of tint that you're allowed to have. And for this state, I doubt it's supposed to be this dark. And I do know that police, they of course know what the percentage tint is in their state, and so they do target people, and they will pull them over if they can see that they have aftermarket tint.
Well,
and it is,
because it's unsafe. They can't see
so,
clearly, and law enforcement can't see in, right? I was in a car years
right.
ago where a driver was stopped, and at that time, the cop pulled out a little device and he measured, I guess it was to measure the tinting, and stuck it to the window because he thought that the tinting was too dark, but it fell within the state laws regarding how dark it could be, going to your point, Audrey.
Yes. And I think it's great that we can actually see through this truck's windshield. So the light that is actually shining on this suspect vehicle one, you would be able to see through it a little bit if it weren't tinted, because we could see
Right.
that right there in the next car. All right, here's Evil CJ says, sometimes they make you rip it off during a traffic stop. I've had it happen to me back in the day.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, police do not like it. They will, yeah, they will do that. And it's also sometimes when you get your vehicle inspected, whether you're buying it for the first time or if they want to,
No
at a
renewal.
car
Yeah.
dealership, when they inspect these cars to be able to resell them, that tint has to come off. And like the inspectors that do the inspections, they are also aware of how much percentage tint that you can have on your car. Thank you, Preston B, for teaching me that. Let's see. Rastafa says that's a different car. That's what this photo shows. Yeah, and I think that is why Anne particularly released this shot. Because, these are, at first I was thinking these are kind of random shots, but no, they're very, she wants to point at something very specific in these shots.
Interesting. And it's just
Hello,
there's
Heather.
so many things have been dumped. It's hard to focus so much. Like if we could go to the IGG stuff, that I was very surprised. I was quite surprised to see that the state dropped their response in opposition to motion in limine number 11 on the 10th. That's a full week. So the state now has a document filed on the docket available for you to read, and it's their response in opposition to motion in limine filed by the defense on the 24th per the Judge Hippler order of January 31st. So this is given. I mean, I don't know if this is really the state saying, hey, we're confident this is, you gotta, judge, although it is, they do agree with the defense that the IGG evidence needs to be kicked out of it, the jury shouldn't know about it and all this other stuff. They just reach it a different way, and they are opposing the sanctions. The defense wants some Brady violations. They want sanctions imposed. They feel they were prejudiced. They felt that the state held on to these documents way too long, and they have not disclosed everything that they have. So it's one of the rare occasions where you see that both sides on the same page. They want the they want the IGG kept out of the trial, but for different reasons. And a point that I bring up again is state also, number one, of course, they don't want sanctions imposed upon them. They think that the Brady, allegations of Brady, a violation, improper. But they want the IGG only to be able to be mentioned to explain to the jury that this came as a tip. So I don't know how they do that without explaining how that tip came to them. Because it's not like, oh, okay, well, somebody overheard Koberger talking about this case and, admitting that that's one thing. This is, they got to it because of the IGG, right? They got to it because they took away the job from Othram on the 10th, and within 9 days, the team, from what we now know, according to Detective Brett Payne, because he was in on this, it was a Teams call, I think that's from Microsoft, where they were told, look at Brian C. Koberger. Without that information, so it's sort of like, I don't know how you can not give the background as to how that happened. I don't know, maybe Judge Hippler will see it different, Audrey. What do you think?
Oh, I hope so, but we never know with him, because I know the other orders that he's written, they were definitely a little bit pro the state. So I'm hoping in this case, if he's just thinking of black and white here, where, okay, both parties don't want this in, none of it comes in. I really hope he says that, but I'm a little worried that that may not happen. What do you think,
Well, I don't,
Kathy?
I have to go back. The defense, I think they lost the IGG. That was possibly a winnable thing because as we were talking about before, and as I've said on my podcast, you're going to raise the Fourth Amendment. You have to have standing to say that I oppose this evidence coming into the case at all because it violated my Fourth Amendment privileges against illegal searches and seizure. They never made that argument. They kept focusing on policies and procedures. And this is why it's so important to watch the hearings because he drops nuggets of how he's probably going to rule. And in that case, I think that he was right. And I have to say that the state was right. You've got to argue standing. Okay, so how do you argue standing about this genetic test that some distant relative took apparently? And this is what led to Mr. Koberger. Well, you got to argue something like, and it might be a ridiculous argument, but it's new age. And as Judge John Judge said, this is case first impression. There's not a lot of case law. We're making the case law as we go along. Say something to the effect of, hey, my third or fourth cousin or whoever this was, he didn't get my permission to test our shared genetic, our shared DNA. I didn't sign anything. I didn't give consent. So therefore, it was him going. That's not just his DNA, the cousin. That's our DNA. So at least it gives you standing to challenge the tests and how they went in and they were able to find these distant cousins that then led them to Koberger. You see, so I have to say, I think Judge Hippler ruled properly on that one, Audrey. Now they're doing the same thing here. The defense wants all of the IGG kicked out. Now, last night, I don't know if anybody watched Banfield. I watched a portion of the show, and she was all upset because the defense has been talking about IGG for so long. We had all these hearings. It was IGG this, IGG, and now they're dropping it. But she's not understanding. At least this is my impression. I'd like to get your thoughts, Audrey, on this. I think what they want is they don't want any of it to come in, even the information regarding the tip, because then it doesn't make any sense as to how they got to Koberger. You need the explanation that this came from the feds who called the locals and said, look at him on the 19th. Because without that call, they likely wouldn't have arrested him on the 30th. They might not have even arrested him as of right now, So I think that's where they're coming from. They want everything thrown out because then it won't make any sense to the jury. How'd you get to Koberger? Right? Because what we were told, and we got this directly from Detective Brett Payne, is it was that call. They weren't looking at him. There was some, it was the two guys at WSU, the two security guards who within a half hour of each other called in the tip about his car. Nope, that wasn't it. And it was much later than I had thought I really thought that one of those calls and two of them coming in from law enforcement across, 10 miles away saying, look, this car, it matches the description. You need to look at this car. I thought maybe that, or maybe there was an inform something like that. Maybe maybe that will come out confirming information, but we don't have those facts as of right now, ladies and gentlemen.
That's exactly what I thought they were doing. And also, I think there were many reasons for the defense to attack the IGG. And, obviously the one is, juries, they automatically see DNA and they want to convict. But I also thought there was also a little baiting involved, because I think that Aunt Taylor might be playing the long game, just in case. So she is anticipating if it gets there for appeal. And so a lot of what is in this IGG reply to the eliminate number 11, there's a lot of things in there that Anne can use for standing in the appeal court if she needs to, in my opinion. So they laid out a lot of their process and a lack of their process in this exclude IGG evidence. So there, I think it was also, like you were saying, Kathy, that that's a strategic move. They don't want that tip in there. For one,
Right.
that's basically the state's case as of right now. And so that would actually, like you were saying, it won't make sense to the jury, but also they're laying the groundwork for lots of standing once they get to the appeal because of the lack, like they basically admitted the lack of procedure that they followed for this, and they even referenced a case called Youngblood,
Right. That was a big case
which
for
was
them,
very
young blood.
similar. Yeah.
Well, and I think on this, my Rastafari, the Sixth Amendment argument, more to come. Yep. Um, Interesting point because all right, let's face it, Judge Hippler has already ruled against them. They came forward and said, hey, the IGG information needs to be suppressed. It's a Fourth Amendment violation, and that was mainly their argument. And they brought it up also on the motion for a Franks hearing. This motion in limine, they can't go back. Now, what the state did in their response, they're saying, hey, you already ruled on this, judge. They ruled on it under the Fourth Amendment. Fourth Amendment isn't even mentioned in this in limine motion. Look at the top of page 2. You're going to see what Mr. Rostov is saying here. It's a Sixth Amendment argument, Fifth Amendment argument, and a 14th Amendment argument. That's the due process clause. The others have to do with the right to confront witnesses, effective assistance of counsel, and all of that other stuff. So they have not. That's a misleading argument that the state has raised. It's the same evidence, but it's argued under a different set of constitutional rights. Now, it will be rather interesting to see on the 24th. We might get it before, who knows, how the defense replies. And this goes to Ms. Potts' question also about the footnotes having to do with, how they tested, where they test the sheet night, how they did that. And also this argument, because again, they're not only looking to suppress meat and potato, everything, soup to nuts, A to Z, on this IgG DNA, but they want sanctions and they want, they want strong sanctions against the state. So let's see how they come back with their reply and argue against the state's response.
Oh, I cannot wait. It can't come any sooner. Yeah. Yeah, and as time goes by too, there could be other types of IgG or trace transfer DNA regulations that do come down, or other rulings, throughout the nation on that. And so the more time that goes by, that could be more standing where Ann Taylor could reference this reply and motion in limine as things unfold. And I know that we're going towards, very slowly, but we're going towards more regulations of IgG and trace transfer DNA in the courtrooms.
Good.
So hopefully time will just help this entire argument for the defense.
Yep, and you start seeing jury questionnaires coming up on the 16th of April, and the parties right now are going to be, you're going to see some under seal submissions. They both have to submit them on the same day leading up to this hearing. You start seeing stuff like jury questionnaires, motions in limine being entertained and ruled upon. You know that this trial, the 30th of July, is going to roll around before we're already, 3.5 months into the new year. It's not really that long. Once these hearings happen next month, it's just, trial's just a couple months away. And then some people, I got a question, heard a rumor that the defense was seeking to adjourn the trial for 3 years. There's a lot of crazy rumors going around. There's no way Judge Hippler is going to adjourn a trial for 3 years. It's not happening. He might adjourn it a little bit if there's still some evidence outstanding, and that may meet, one of the motions to compel that they don't have enough time. If they get that ruling in their favor, then, they might be able to get a little bit more time. But as of right now, it looks as though this trial is going to happen when it's scheduled.
Kathy, what does it mean to adjourn a trial?
Well, that means to not that it gets dismissed or anything like that. It just means, like, right now, Hippler has already adjourned a portion of the trial order. He has not delayed. He's adjourned it. The motion in limine schedule that got changed from the trial order based on stipulation between the parties. It would mean, like, okay, well, one of the parties has to come forward, good cause, and say, we're not ready. We still have this discovery that you just ruled upon. Let's just say it's the defense. We need a couple more months time. So then, the state would come forward, probably oppose it. They're getting a lot of pressure from the families. We need to move forward with this trial. We've waited, although this is a DP trial. They don't, they take years to get to trial because of everything that's at stake here. So that would mean the judge might, adjourn it, might say, okay, like we've had the trial order changed to three, a couple times already. This case was supposed to go before he waived speedy in October of 2023. Do you remember? That's when Judge had to disclose to both sides that he got a summons for jury duty himself. That's how small the jury pool was. And then he said it, and, like, if you look at this at the case summary page, you're going to see jury trial in Latah County is supposed to start June 1st. But remember, they were going to do it during the summer when the kids were out of school because the parking situation, the little courthouse, and it would have been just too much traffic and not enough accommodations at that point. The trial was supposed to start July 1st. It's got moved here. This is the third time it's moved. So we have 3 trial orders so far. Might be a possibility you're going to see a fourth when if and when one of the sides comes forward and say, Judge, we're not ready. We need more time.
Yeah. I could see Judge Hippler now, like, not wanting to do that, but if the situation arises, he might have to, but we just don't know yet. But yeah. Okay, thank you for explaining that.
He also raised the issue. I don't know if you remember when they were negotiating when the trial date was going to be. I think it was at the very first hearing that he held last September after change of venue, talking about needing to, a good idea to have it during the summer because you might have parents of school-aged children. If the kids are out, then they would be able to serve jury duty. He must get a lot of potential jurors saying, hey, I got young kids at home. They're home during the summer. I can't afford to put them in daycare all summer or whatever the case may be. And maybe they've gotten excused. So he did look at scheduling this trial in the summer. Problem is, as CJ has said, it's scheduled to go into November. So it's kids go back to school, I think, in Idaho in September. So for, a couple months, those same jurors are going to have that same problem.
Yeah. And I hear that courtroom was just so small that just logistically, it was never going to work there.
Right. And it doesn't seem like they had enough accommodations, even, for people. You're probably going to see some witnesses coming in from Pennsylvania, that effectuated the arrest. You might see, some others that, that were interested, the 2 cops that signed the probable cause affidavit over in Pennsylvania. They might have to testify. So you might have people, then you got people maybe having to fly in from Othram. You might have people, well, no, I'm sorry. If the IGG gets stricken, then you won't have much of that. But there's a lot of out of state people. Look at, BF, she doesn't live in Idaho. She's left Idaho. Who knows, by the time trial comes around, I think isn't if DM is still attending college at the University of Idaho, wouldn't she be graduating this summer? So maybe she's gonna, move or something. So they have to bring in all of these witnesses. It seemed like they didn't have the accommodations in Moscow, in Latah County, or in the surrounding area, even going into Pullman, to accommodate all of these out of town people, the reporters, the podcasters. Some people are saying, yeah, they want to go out, even if they can't get in the courtroom, they want to be where the trial is, so that they can maybe get interviews, kind of see what's happening firsthand, maybe be able to, if they get lucky, get a seat in the jury room. There's no place to put them up. Boise is a lot larger, but that was another main reason why they had to move the trial, because that courtroom, like you said, Audrey, was too small. The courthouse was too small, and the area surrounding it could not have accommodated this big of a trial.
Yeah, this is the biggest one in the world right now. I mean, I imagine people are going to travel from all over, and
I see this. I mean, the family members of the victims. There's a lot of people on that list that they want treated as immediate family members, and if Judge Hippler rules on all of them, that's going to be a significant part of who's going to be in there. Then both sides, they want 2 investigators in the courtroom for the entire trial. Brett Payne being one of them for the state side, and then 2 of the defense investigators. Then you have, the defense attorneys in state, they're at their own tables, but you already, just with the family members who were named on the list, that one of the motions eliminate wants Judge Hippler to rule that they are all immediate family members, meaning they are entitled to be in the courtroom. There's even in Boise, with the larger courtroom that Judge Hippler has, it's not that big, and so who knows how many people. I hope that some of the members of the press are going to be able to be in there, to be able to come back and report, and that it is televised, that it's open to the public.
Yeah, it's so important.
Look at Blackwood.
So,
here's the message of the day. I love this one. This trial's been adjourned more times than my plans to start eating healthy. I agree. I'll join you with that one. That's a good one. Hey, Twizzlestick. Hey, Twizzlestick's wondering, how can Twiz get in, Kathy? I think Twiz has been to a couple of hearings, if I'm not mistaken, when it was down in Latah County. Twiz, didn't you attend a couple of the proceedings live? Didn't you attend, or is that somebody impersonating you? Like somebody's impersonating suspect vehicle 1, right, Audrey? Little bit of humor here, right? I think Twizzlestick attended a couple of hearings. A couple of the hearings. Yes, there you go.
He did.
Right, then just get up there. Plan to be there in Boise. I'll be in Boise on the 9th. Oh, nice job, Twizzlestick's going to be there in Boise on the 9th. And, feel free to wear Kathy's InDieZoNe t-shirt and Audrey's DNA podcast when you go in there. No, Twizzlestick, great.
Yeah.
Great that you're going to be there, live and in person. We'll look for you. Members of the public have got to be in the, irrespective of how you feel, how you feel. If you feel, I got people, as I said, that follow me on the podcast and YouTube that feel that Brian Kohberger was set up. Others who feel that, he's guilty of, and everyone in between. No matter how you feel about this case, there's a bigger picture as to what the impact is going to be on the First Amendment, regarding how long documents were kept under seal, regarding these hearings that were under seal, regarding this gag order. So members of the public, like Twiz, going up there, making the effort to be there, extremely important. I have t-shirts planned. Oh, Twiz, make sure you bring a backup just in case they stop you at the door. Because they'll do that. If they feel that it's an improper t-shirt, they throw you out. Make sure you got a second set on you, Twizzle. We're going to be looking for you at that hearing.
Yeah, I'll send you a t-shirt, Twiz. There are Audrey C's DNA podcast t-shirts. And some of them say docs required, because you know how docs are so important. And so yeah, I'll send you one.
Good to see Yvonne in the audience. Very, very dedicated follower on both the podcast and YouTube channel. Appreciate it. Audrey, there was time.
Welcome, Yvonne.
Hey, Audrey. When I first set up that podcast, it was just with the intention of I had this music, I had this independent, channel on Spotify and wherever else it went, and I wanted to convert it to true crime. And I knew I wanted to do the PCA, no doubt about it. And then I was going to look at other cases as well. There's a lot of other, interesting cases out there. But holy Toledo, when you get into these documents, you just see how big, how important this case is. Like Audrey said, this is the biggest case in the world right now. I was limiting it to the United States. I have to agree with you. There are people that are interested in this case from all over the globe. Eyes are on this case. And, so when I re-engineered the podcast to True Crime, I said, either I'm going to start getting into these documents or I'm not. It's too big of a case. There's too many important issues. The impact on the First Amendment was always in the back of my mind because when I started the podcast, the case had already been going a year. So you start getting into the documents, and now that we're starting to see some information finally be released to the public, you think back and you're like, okay, well, that makes sense over here. That makes sense over here. That because it was truly, I mean, there was an ironclad. First off, you had the non-dissemination order, so you never had law enforcement or defense counsel or the state come out as they do in big cases like this and give an interview once in a while. That was done, and then all the documents under seal. It's until you look at the case summary page and you will see it is extraordinary. I've never seen a case where so much was under seal. And my primary concern was what this case stands for, and is this now going to be the new standard for criminal trials? Because we don't, that's not what this country was built on. This country's built on open public trials. Anyone should be able to walk into that courtroom anytime and sit in on any hearing, should be able to go to the clerk's office, like when it used to be paper, and say, I want to see the filings for Idaho versus Koberger, or go online and do it. We haven't been able to do it. So I really hope, I'm worried about what the long-term effects going to be on the First Amendment. Then you get into the DNA issues and you get into all of this other, the 8-hour gap. And, and I think that in my mind, I think some of those questions were answered. We've heard that this 911 call is possibly going to be dropped. There's no official confirmation, but a lot of people are saying that they have heard through their sources the 911 call itself will be released to the public. And we were talking about it. Hi, Leah. How are you? Good to see you here. Is anybody going to listen to that? I'm going to say right now, I'm not listening to the call. I'm just not. I saw what I needed to see in the transcript. I know that there's some pieces to it that don't make sense to me. Once the call's released, maybe it will. But I'll let Audrey. You're going to listen to it, right? The day it comes out. Is that true?
Oh, yeah,
The
that is
911
true.
call.
I just want to give a quick hello to IDAHO4. Welcome. I'm definitely going to listen to that. I look forward to hearing everything to give more context of what's going on there.
We don't know. It's so I will definitely look for your report as to how accurate, because I've heard that a couple of podcasters are saying that they got a hold of the 911 call. I don't know how they did it. They're sort of like, there's some rumors that they filed a public records request at the right time. Like there's been other public records requests for that 911 call. Same thing with the stop of Koberger nearby I call it the Bed Bath and Beyond store, where he got stopped by the one Latah County sheriff's deputy. But yeah, this 911 call, I don't want to hear it. So I'll depend on you, Audrey, to tell me if there's any further information that we see in the transcript.
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to report on that. Definitely.
Good. And then the other thing that, that we also, I think, got confirmation of who the first officer in was. We didn't know that. There was rumors that it was 3. The person who was named was one of the 3. Now it seems like it was Nunez, because we see here in the transcript that, or in one of the motions in limine that it was Sergeant Officer Nunez gave some testimony at the grand jury regarding the 911 call. We know that at some point towards the end of the transcript that an officer from MPD had arrived. It would be MPD because that's their jurisdiction. So, we're starting to get confirmation of bits and pieces of information.
Wow, CJ says something interesting here.
Right?
He said Steve G flipped out about transcript getting dropped before they knew. They
Mm-hmm.
got the audio and shared it with those two. They have to say FOIA to public because it was shared and they didn't get it through FOIA. Whoa.
Do we got confirmation from that, CJ, or is that, just a good educated guess? Because I was telling Audrey, you had talked about, it was two podcasters who claimed that they heard the 911 call, but neither one of them released it. So I was just curious as to how they were able, if that's true, how they were able to obtain it before mainstream media did, before the rest of the world did.
Welcome, Typically Unique.
Hi, Typically Unique. Okay, so we're looking here. We have jury trial coming up here, really, with the hearing on the 30th. That's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it, that's the start of trial, aka voir dire. That is not a hearing, that is voir dire. That's the process of jury selection. Can't have this trial without a jury. That's when that's going to happen. Hopefully that will be public. But before then, these hearings on the 9th and the 10th, if you're interested in this case, this is going to be a monumentally important day in the case. A lot could, however Hitler rules, he's the trier of the law. However he rules could change the entire scope and context of what this jury trial is going to look like, or how it's projected to look like.
Yeah, who's going to take off that day so they can watch it?
A lot of people are. I've got, they better let us, I've got, some of my they're like, why did I even find your channel? Why? Because now I'm up at 4 a.m. I got to be at work at 7, but I'm looking at the documents. I'm trying to make sense out of this case. And it's like, one thing that I did want to point out is that while the docket is massive and it's only going to get larger, we're on page 76 of the case summary page right now. Audrey, there's searchable engines that if you want to find out, if you want to research Becca Barlow, because she was, as Audrey said, was an expert witness that helped get some of the DNA, the IgG information released on a motion to compel. You can just plug that into the search engine. We have one on the YouTube channel, and then there's a couple. I think Apple has a search engine, and one other place where because the docket is impossible. The way that they name some of these filings, I don't know who's naming them, because you're not given a clue. As I'm not talking about the motions in limine. I think they did a really good job of separating so that but once you get down to the Koberger case, you have to go. It used to be at the top, and it used to be, a lot smaller. At least you got a search engine, so it will point you to where you can find those specific documents and what they are on the docket. Because this case is only going to continue to get more, I don't say complicated, I think interesting, but you've got to know what those documents say. And I know, Audrey, you're one who sits down with many times a pen and paper. I know for a fact you did it with the PCA. You had markers out, you had a ruler out, you old schooled it, and that's how you really you get the bits right. You get, even when before they started to release this information, you got bits and pieces by looking at the documents. And it's going to continue to evolve. This case I think it's the biggest case in the world right now. I have to agree with you, Audrey.
Oh, did I get kicked off?
No,
Typically
we're here.
unique. Are you talking about the date for the big hearing that's going to come up? That would be April 9th and 10th. Even though they don't have the 10th listed on the summary page, but Kathy has informed us it will be 9th and 10th.
Yeah, there's an order that Judge Hippler signed July 31st, where he adjourned that section of the pretrial and trial order to change the dates a little bit. He gave them a little bit more time on the briefings for the in limine motions, and the hearing date also changed by a few days. But yeah, it says right in that order, just like he did with the motions to suppress, when he said January 23rd, and if necessary, the 24th also. And we know that that went for 2 days. And there weren't nearly as many motions in limine as there were. There were a lot more motions in limine than suppression. So I'm even predicting we might see a third day. Hippler, I know Hippler being Hippler, he wants to stay on the schedule, or we might see that the dates, the hearings going longer, or he might do what he did with the motions to strike the DP. Remember when he came out with the schedule and said, okay, this is which of the, I don't know if it was 13, 14 motions to strike the DP. We're going to start out with international standards, and then we're going to go to this one and that one, and you have 20 minutes. That's not per side, that is for everything, and that's it. So you might see that also. We didn't see that with the motions to suppress, but you may see that here because there's so many of them. Typically unique, you're gonna get sick that day.
Right? Wow, I bet there will be a lot of people streaming
Oh yeah, I'm
on that
streaming.
day.
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna stream that day.
oh, good. Oh,
Do my
good.
play-by-play. You're going to get some background information, and Judge Stephen J. Hippler is also the administrative judge for the West Judicial Circuit, in case you're not aware what that means. So we're going to be given a lot of background information to help help our viewers, understand this process, because it's impossible if you're coming in. Even if you've started from the beginning, there's so much there. Like people say, oh, I forgot about Judge's, October 25th order granting, that should have been called granting in part the third and fourth motion to compel, and he calls it DNA. Or I didn't know that it was January 30th when the defense first moved for change of venue, and then it really took 9 months to get that order. You get it by looking at the documents. And again, there's search engines. If you're a podcaster, feel free, just go in there. If you want to, do some background for your viewers and listeners, feel free to do that. Search the search engine, put in whatever you want. If it's motion in limine, or, motion for change of venue, and it will pull up all of the episodes dating back to the beginning of the case, where that's in Detective Brett Payne, also a very popular person that's been searched on the channel. He's such an important figure.
Oh, and I like your
But
commentary, Kathy, because I know that you can pick up on certain things that Hippler does that are little maybe hints at like how he might rule for
yeah,
later
that
motions or for the.
he will get, I guarantee, I'm going to put it on the table right now, Audrey. I'm going to bet you he will tell us a few things. He's going to, he likes to play poker face. There's no doubt about it. He's a lot less emotional than Judge John Judge ever was. And even, Judge Megan E. Marshall, when she presided over the case. But I guarantee there's a couple of things that he drops in there that were like, when he started asking her about standing, I said, this suppression motion's getting denied, because he's not interested in policies and procedures. He's interested in standing. So he throws out some nuggets, and if he does at this next hearing, we're going to jump all over it, and we're going to pull up exactly what he's talking about from a prior order and explain why it is he's saying what he is.
I look forward to hearing you break that down. So Kathy, I shared your link and I also pinned CJ's link in the chat. Kathy and I will be on CJ's at in about 45 minutes now? Almost 30 minutes
Yeah,
maybe?
CJ's been with us. I mean, he's going to be here, and you in one ear, me in the other ear, and he's been with us the entire time. Thanks, CJ. Yeah, it's Evil CJ Media and Investigation. CJ does a good job of covering a number of cases. He is, he's done such important research in this particular case. I'm hoping that he will write a book, when this trial is done,
Yeah.
unlike some other people that have written books already and convicted this man, when he is cloaked with the presumption of innocence at every stage of the proceedings, up to and including unless he pleads or is adjudicated guilty. CJ also has, I mean, he literally went from one side of the country to the other. He is the only person that I know who did he went out to DeSales University. That's, of course, where Mr. Koberger received his bachelor's and his master's degree, spent a significant amount of time at that campus. And CJ did something that was real interesting. He covered it, a hearing live, basically, in the parking lot where Koberger might have parked, when he attended DeSales University. And then he transversed the country, and then he went out to Pullman, and he showed you all of the sites there. And the house, he was there, spent a lot of hours there. I didn't realize how many hours he spent at the location, but he did. And then he recreated the PCA. He, routes where he should have gone. This is critical research you can't do anymore because the house isn't there.
That's so sad the house isn't there.
Good.
So,
CJ's going to
so
start working
CJ
on the
said
book.
he's going to start the book. Great.
Yeah, because as much research that he has put up about this, the biggest case in the world right now, he's got a lot that he has not even had a chance to publish yet. So it will be I think
Wow.
unique. Yeah, no, he's got a lot of footage. He's started to publish a little bit. I think CJ members only, so definitely you want to follow CJ. Be a member of his channel, and then look for that book. He's going to start working on the process. He says here this weekend.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. Kathy, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I truly love just chatting and just talking away. I could talk to you for hours about this case. So I also want to give a little bit of time for Kathy and I to get ready so that we can hop over to CJ's. So Kathy's link is in the chat. Definitely subscribe to Kathy if you haven't. She has the best library of work where she runs down very quickly each document on the docket. She also is on Amazon and Spotify. And what is that? Before we go here, Kathy, can you please explain that one that has that great search engine that you can easily put in keywords to find?
There's three of them. I
Which one is
think
that?
Listen Notes has got probably the best search engine. Listen Notes. And right now, I think we have, what do we have? We have close to 400 episodes of the InDieZoNe. And I've tried to keep it 5 minutes or less and handle one document there and try to take the legalese out of it, point you to where in the document I think the important stuff is, because I think my viewers are intelligent enough. They don't need me to have to sit there and read every word on there. Just point them in the direction. This is where you can find it. Listen Notes, if you plug in a term like change of venue, it'll pull up all of the change of venue episodes, because I try to put that in the title. So that way it'll save you a lot of time going through that unsearchable monster of a docket. It's only going to get bigger. Listen Notes. The YouTube channel has a pretty decent search engine as well. And then also Apple has a search engine. We're also on iHeart. We got, some of our biggest listeners are in Japan, Tokyo. One of my first followers called him Sensei Koberger. They found out that he was a teacher and had a lot of respect for him. So yeah, definitely go ahead, search it, and it'll help you. I help you with your research. And as we get closer and closer to trial, July 30th, in my opinion, not August 11th.
I will put all of Kathy's links in the description, and thank you so much, Kathy, and hopefully we'll see everybody over at CJ's.
Yes, in just a few
All
minutes.
right.
Thank you guys. Audrey, always my pleasure. Everyone in chat, thanks so much for your attention. Please give Audrey a like on this channel so that you'll get updates from her channel. Definitely subscribe to her because it's going to get very interesting. It's an interesting case. It's going to get more interesting in the coming days and weeks.
Thank you again, Kathy. Bye,
Okay.
everybody. Bye, Kathy.
Bye. See you later.
Bye.